Hello, friends. I'm so excited today to talk about how to stop the generational poverty cycle in your family. And I'm so excited to talk about this topic today because I come from generational poverty. Okay. My father is Puerto Rican. His family came to the States in the let's say mid 1900s. And when they made that move, it was very hard for them. They lived in New York City. My great grandmother was a seamstress in the city, and they lived with many people living in a single building type of thing in a single unit. And they faced a lot of hardship, and it's hard to stop that cycle from repeating, especially because a lot of that just becomes ingrained in how a family operates, right? And so for me, I grew up in poverty as well. And I wanted to end that for myself and for my daughter. I did not want, when she was born, I was like, I don't want this for you. Okay. I want to make sure you have everything you need, but also that you understand how money works so that you can make good decisions with it later as well, and we can kind of stop that cycle from continuing, right? Because it is a really hard cycle to be a part of. Okay, so the first thing that you can do to stop the generational poverty cycle is to educate yourself. Okay, first and foremost, it makes it incredibly difficult to make solid decisions about your money, what you're going to do with it, how you're going to pay off debt, all of that. It's going to make it so much harder to tackle all of those problems, right? If you don't understand how money works. Okay. So, doing research, right? Watching videos, all great. Read some books. Find a financial professional who can teach you some of these methods. That's actually something that I do. So if you need help with that, please book below. But right, teach yourself how money works, because then you'll be able to have the tools in your back pocket to make good decisions, but also then carry that on to the next generation, right? So once you have that education, then you need to implement, right? So you need to be able to create a long-term financial plan for yourself, right? You need to be able to budget properly. And I know budgeting is a huge topic, and it's definitely something that I think a lot of people struggle with, because you put it into place and then it's like it's more about the habit that's harder to build than the budget itself, right? You build the budget and you're like, hey, this is the budget, but then sticking to that can be really hard. Now, when it comes to budgeting, I would actually recommend looking into different rules of budgeting. One of the ones that I really love for my household personally is the 75-15-10 rule, where 75% of my money is going towards everyday expenses, and then 15% is going towards investing towards my future, right? Or towards my daughter's future. I actually have a plan for her that's going to not only give her college fund money if she needs that, but she can also use it if she wants to start a business, or if she wants to get into real estate investing, or whatever she wants to do, she'll have a pot of money for that. And then it will also double as her retirement plan. And so I've actually set that up for her, but I had to do a lot of research and learning in order to choose something that I felt was going to be good for her, right? So you want to be able to implement, right? Then the last part of that budgeting rule that I was just talking about, 75-15-10 rule, the 10% is just towards saving. So you're saving towards your emergency fund, which is usually between 3 to 6 months of your income, right? So you want to make sure that you have that set aside, because I see so many people who end up getting laid off and they have absolutely no money to be able to take them to when they're going to get their next job, right? Super, super important. And so the 75-15-10 rule is a little bit more flexible, because it's not telling you exactly how much you need to spend on Taco Bell, right? Like, and if someone was going to tell me how much I need to spend on Taco Bell, I would be like, you know what? We're not friends anymore, because I want to spend like however much I want on Taco Bell this month. Okay. Love Taco Bell. It's like my favorite fast food. But besides the point, right? That's beside the point. I just I want you to know that like the implementation part of it is super important because you might have all this knowledge, but if you don't actually act on it and change those habits, right, you're not really going to be able to get anywhere with changing the cycle, right? Once you've actually implemented some of these things, created a long term financial plan for yourself, make sure that you have everything in place, right? Retirement, life insurance, will and trust, all these things that are in place, you have it all there so that, you know, you're set, you're all set, right? And then you can teach your kids about how money works, and you can show them what you've done to not only set them up for their future, but what you've done to set up the family, right, in a way where there's that financial security in a way, right? For my daughter, I've started because she's 5, right? What do you do for a 5-year old? For my daughter, I've actually started with showing her, I did show her her life insurance plan, right? And her savings plan. And I also have a system for her where she does chores and we write down exactly how much she makes for each chore. And every single time she completes something, we write that down. And then at the end of the week or at the end of a couple of weeks or whenever it might be, we can tally that all up and then we can go to her favorite store and she can buy something with that money or she can save it for something bigger, right? And so she's building these habits from a very young age. She's only 5, and she understands that when she completes these tasks, it also translates to I'm going to have this money that goes towards things that are going to make my life more fun, right? And better. And so she's understanding that from a very young age. I think it's very important. My parents never talked to me about money. I did have chores that I did and made some money from that, but they never showed me, hey, I'm paying bills like with this money. I do show my daughter that sometimes. I want her to know, like, hey, this thing that we have in the house, heat, like, for example, like we have heat because mommy pays for heat, right? I actually go in and pay this bill. Like I talk to her about that so that she understands that we can't take these things for granted and we actually have to plan. And I go to work and I work and I have my businesses and I do all these things so that we can have these nice things, right? And so building that in from an early age is really important. And I know that, the kids will thank you later for including them, right? Um, so another thing I would say is, right, and this kind of goes in with the implementation and teaching your kids about money, but make sure they're set up with some type of account, right? Their own bank account, their own like everything, right? Make sure that they have a savings account, something that is going towards their future so that they're going to be set up for life, right? I personally love a combination of private brokerage accounts as well as cash value life insurance for my daughter. Whatever you choose for yourself, right? You want to make sure that you understand how it works. Super important. The last one I would say, well, fifth, thing to do in terms of stopping generational poverty and that whole cycle is setting really firm boundaries with your family. Okay. This is probably the hardest one. When I was growing up, right, it was hard. I remember when I was in college, I actually lived at home because I could not afford to live on campus. And, I remember there was one year where I ended up getting a scholarship and it was just like extra money that the university had and they were just handing it out to people. I don't even know what this was for. Like it wasn't anything too fancy, like, but they were just like, hey, you got the scholarship. And I was just like, great. I have like $4,000 in my bank account now. And it was a really hard month. My mom could not afford the mortgage. And she was like, I need you to give me all of it. And I was just like, I literally just got this, and this money is for my education. And I also have school bills that I need to pay. And she pressured me so hard. And I love my mom. We have a great relationship today. We used to not have so great a relationship we do now. Um, Back in college, we definitely did not have a great relationship. We fought every single day, and a lot of it was about money. And it was hard because I was in a, circumstance where I was going to school. I wasn't really making money. The money that I did make working part-time was going towards books and materials that I needed for class, right? Or helping me get a quick meal or whatever it might be on campus. And so, I wasn't making very much and I was only working for, I don't know, less than $10 an hour and only for maybe 5 to 10 hours a week. And so it wasn't very much. And so that pressure from my mom was so hard. And when I finally moved away, I learned better boundaries with her when it came to money, saying, hey, like, you need to figure this out because I have my own bills to pay and I want to be able to support you, but I can't right now. And being able to say that was really hard, but it was necessary because I would have been just stuck in that cycle still of I'm just feeding, the cycle. And so once I was out of that and I was able to just kind of be on my own and realize, okay, I have my own bills to pay. I have to be able to do this on my own. I was able to, have those conversations a little bit more easily, but it's still hard. It's still hard, right? Um, and money is also kind of a hard topic in families that are stuck in generational poverty, right? They think if you have a lot of it, they feel entitled. Some people feel very entitled to that money. Others might, feel very jealous, and they might, cut you off or just not want to talk to you or be involved whatsoever with your life because you might be making more money than them. You'll really see the whole gamut. And so I think in those circumstances, it really is important to realize that it's not about you. They're still part of that cycle and you're trying to get out of it. And when you do that, you're really going to have to set some strong boundaries. Okay, guys. So those are my tips on, how to stop the generational poverty cycle. If you have other ideas or, other thoughts below, I'd love to hear them. And also just hear your stories. If you've gotten out of generational poverty, tell me, what was that like? What did you experience? And what was hard, but also what has been, motivational for you? What has transformed your life in terms of, leaving that circumstance? And, yeah, I'd love to hear from you. And if you love this content, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.